24 Cutting in valves. The work involved in cutting a valve into an existing main shall consist of excavation and backfilling with approved selected material, hauling and disposition of surplus excavation and other materials, installation of the valve, valve box assembly, all pipe used to complete cut-in, reaction blocking, polyethylene wrapping where required. 25 Tapping sleeves and valves. The work involved in the installation of a tapping sleeve and valve shall consist of excavation, backfilling the excavation with approved selected material, installed the tapping sleeve, approved reaction blocking conforming to the plans, tapping valve, valve box assembly, concrete collar where subjected to street traffic, and a cast iron lid. New taps will not be permitted closer than 2 feet of a joint or existing tap. The use of a shell-type cutter shall be required. Whenever working on potable or recycle water systems, the shell cutter shall be disinfected with bleach prior to start of work. The cutting edge shall be sharp and round. Defective cutters shall be rejected by the inspector. All the tapping sleeves shall be air tested to 50 psi prior to tapping the main line. The valve box shall be placed in such a manner to prevent shock or stress from being transmitted to the valve. It shall be centered and plumb over the operating nut of the valve with the box cover flush with the surface of the finished pavement or at such other levels as may be directed by the engineer. Valve boxes located in streets or other areas subject to vehicular traffic shall be provided with concrete collars as shown in the plans. Collars around such valve boxes shall be formed and finished off neatly and in a workmanlike manner. 26 Cutting in T's. The work involved in cutting in a T shall consist of excavation, backfilling the excavation with approved selected material, installation of all pipe cut and used to complete the connection, fittings, and reaction blocking required. 27 Pipe joint restraint system. Restraint devices shall be used where ductile iron mechanical joint bell fittings are coupled to plain end, square cut, HDPE pipe, to prevent movement of pipe connections. Mechanical joint adapters shall be required for the HDPE pipe. Pipe joint restraints shall be utilized to prevent movement for PVC push-on bell and spigot pipe connections. The restrainer may be adapted to connect a plain end PVC pipe to a ductile iron mechanical joint, MJ, bell fitting. All restraint devices shall be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. 28 Concrete encasement, cradles, saddles and collars. A. Concrete encasement. When concrete encasement is shown on the plans or when directed, the trench shall be excavated and fine graded to a depth conforming with the details and sections shown on the plans. The pipe shall be supported by precast concrete blocks of the same strength as the concrete for encasement and securely tied down to prevent flotation. Encasement concrete shall be placed to a depth and width conforming with details and sections shown on the plans. B. Concrete cradles. When concrete cradles are shown on the plans or when directed, the trench shall be prepared and the cradle constructed in accordance with details and sections shown on the plans. C. Concrete saddles. When shown on the plans or when directed, pipe to receive concrete saddle shall be backfilled to the spring line and concrete placed for a depth and width conforming with details and sections shown on the plans. D. Concrete collars. When shown on the plans or when directed, concrete collars shall be constructed in accordance with details and sections shown on the plans. C. Fire hydrants and miscellaneous appurtenances. 1. Fire hydrants. Hydrants shall be connected to the main as shown on the plans or as directed by the engineer. They shall be installed in accordance with the plans for proper thrust blocking. They shall be installed in a manner which will provide complete accessibility and the minimum possibility of damage from vehicles or injury to pedestrians. When the hydrant is placed directly behind the curb, the hydrant barrel shall be set so that no portion of the hydrant shall be less than 12 for more than 7 feet from the back face of the curb. When the hydrant is set in the lawn space between the curb and the sidewalk or between the sidewalk and the property line, no portion of the hydrant or nozzle cap shall be within 6 inches of the sidewalk. Setting final grade of for hydrant to match proposed or existing field conditions is the responsibility of contractor. Hydrants shall be set in accordance with the San Antonio River Authority standards and shall be set plumb and shall have their nozzles parallel with or at right angles to the curb with the pumper nozzle facing the curb. Drainage and blocking shall be provided at the base of the hydrant as specified. No fire hydrant drainage system or pit shall be connected to a storm or sanitary sewer. The contractor shall install anchored or flanged style fittings in accordance with the plans. When an existing fire hydrant is to be replaced or relocated, the work shall be accomplished by either, 1. Relocating the existing fire hydrant by closing the fire hydrant branch valve, removing the existing fire hydrant, extending the fire hydrant branch and installing the fire hydrant as specified herein, or 2. Using a tapping sleeve and valve of the size and type indicated on the plans or as directed by the engineer to install the new fire hydrant. The contractor shall salvage the existing fire hydrant and other materials as designated in the field by the construction inspector and shall deliver this material to the Sarah Materials Storage Yard. The fire hydrant branch shall be abandoned by cutting and capping the fire hydrant cast iron T at the service main and surface restored to its original condition. After the fire hydrant has been set, hydrants shall be painted with a suitable primer and finished with oil-based aluminum paint from the top of the hydrant to a point 18 to 20 inches below the center line of the pumper nozzle and applied to all exposed metal surfaces above the hydrant base flange. The payment for fire hydrant painting shall be included in the unit cost for installing the fire hydrant. Ductile iron, pipe, cast iron and ductile iron fittings, and valves used in the placement of fire hydrants and connections to the main shall be considered part of the fire hydrant installation and not a part of the main construction, and no separate payment shall be made for this pipe. Hydrants shall be connected to the main as shown on the plans or as directed by the engineer. They shall be installed in a manner which will provide complete accessibility and the minimum possibility of damage from vehicles or injury to pedestrians. 2 valve boxes, pits, and manholes. Valves shall be provided with valve boxes, manholes, or valve pits as shown on the plans. The valve box shall be placed in such a manner to prevent shock or stress from being transmitted to the valve. It shall be centered and set plumb over the operating nut of the valve with the box cover flush with the surface of the finished pavement or at such other level as may be directed. Valve boxes located in streets or other areas subjected to vehicular traffic shall be provided with concrete collars as shown on the plans. Collars around such valve boxes shall be formed and finished off neatly and in a workmanlike manner. Valve pits shall be located so that the valve operating nut is readily accessible for operation through the opening in the manhole. The manhole ring and cover shall be set flush with the surface of the finished pavement or at such other elevations as may be specified. Pits shall be constructed to permit minor valve repairs and to afford protection to the valve and pipe from impact where they pass through the pit walls. Existing valve boxes located within the limits of new street construction which are in conflict shall be adjusted to match proposed finish grades. 3 air release assembly. Air release valves and appurtenant items shall be installed at the locations shown on the plans unless otherwise directed. 4 blow-offs. Permanent and temporary blow-off assemblies and also temporary jumper connections shall be installed at the locations shown on the plans or where otherwise directed. The permanent blow-off shall consist of all galvanized pipe, valve, and fittings of the various sizes detailed on the plans, 6 inches valve box assembly including the 6 inches valve box and concrete collar around the valve box where subjected to vehicular traffic. The temporary blow-off shall consist of all galvanized pipe, valve, and fittings of the various sizes detailed on the plans. 5 anchorage and blocking. Suitable reaction blocking or anchorage shall be provided at all dead ends, plugs, caps, T's, crosses, and bends as shown on the plans. Anchor blocks shall be constructed solidly behind the fitting and symmetrical with the axis of resultant thrust except where this is not possible as in the case of gravity anchorage for vertical bends. Special ties and anchor fittings may be utilized in conjunction with blocking when shown on the plans or as directed. Except for concrete steel cylinder pipe where blocking is Class A, 3000 psi, concrete blocking for mains shall be Class D, 1500 psi, placed between solid ground and the fitting except as otherwise shown on the plans. The area of bearing in contact with solid ground shall be that shown on the plans or as directed. The blocking shall be placed so that pipe and fitting joints shall be accessible. Bituminous felt paper shall be placed between the pipe or fitting and the concrete. The reaction block on the unused branch of a T shall be poured separately from the block across the back of the T. If they are poured simultaneously, a rigid partition shall be placed between the blocks. Valves 12 inches and larger in size shall be supported on a concrete pad extending vertically from 12 inches below the bottom of the valve to the lower quarter point of the hub and laterally from face to face of hubs and transversely from wall to wall of the trench.